From a batting lineup that includes the likes of Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers, one expects fireworks, especially once they are set, but it wasn't to be. It was that kind of wicket here in Dubai in this game between RCB and CSK. Virat Kohli won the toss and chose to bat first. And in the last 4 overs, they scored 31 runs and lost, I think, 4 or 5 wickets towards the end. Sanjay Manchika joins us on Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. Sanjay, were they playing in Dubai or was this Chepauk?
Yeah, a bit like Chepauk. Interesting that you mentioned the amount of runs in the last 5 overs. It wasn't any different before that as well. What was really the most important element of that innings was that the spinners bowled about 11 overs. There were 4 of Santner, 4 of Tahir, and 3 of Jadeja, and conceded totally just about 73 runs. So, you know, part of the reason is, of course, the pitch. The other reason is because that partnership was so long that there were only 2 right-handers. So the job for the spinners became really easy. There was no left-hand, right-hand combination to make things a little more difficult for people like Santner and Tahir and Jadeja. So if that actually comes into play, then maybe CSK have a slight advantage, because that is where they were slightly hampered, RCB. But it also goes to show, how sometimes left-hand, right-hand combination can be so important, because we are sometimes critical that it's taken a bit too far. But today, on this kind of a pitch, you mentioned the short boundary as well. Left-hand, right-hand combination would have perhaps made a little bit of a difference with the 3 spinners. I don't think the 3 spinners bowled a single ball to a left-hand batsman.
Right. Kohli and AB came into bat together in the seventh over is when their partnership began. They batted together until the 17th over. At some stage, maybe in the first 2 overs, they would have recalibrated the target they're looking at, given the conditions.
Absolutely. And, they must have thought that it was visibly a typical, UAE pitch that we all anticipated before the IPL began. It is now showing its true nature. It's a bit like human beings as well. You have to stay with them for a while before you know their true nature, right? So now you know the true nature of the pitch. And I think that these 2 guys, 2 very experienced players, assessed this pitch and thought, maybe 150 is the pass score. But I just put that element of they didn't use the left hand, right hand, idea as much. So what if they have scored just a little below par, which means they are flirting with danger a bit? Having said that, they also know the CSK batting lineup and their current form. So obviously, Virat Kohli and AB de Villiers' brains have come together, and they've realized this is a score that's good enough.
Is it fair to say that even batsmen of Kohli and AB de Villiers' caliber are eventually at the mercy of the conditions that they have to play in? Or can the lay viewer expect at all times to say, Kohli and AB cannot bat this slow? Very often people look at the scorecard and say, hey, they played very slowly. But is it also a learning that even players of that caliber can be at the mercy of the conditions that they play in?
See, it's all about the intent. It's a key word in T20 cricket. What was the intent? There wasn't an intent to get more than what they did. Virat Kohli hit a 6 of Jadeja in his last over. So that is when the intent started coming in. Until then, they thought 2 right-hand batsmen, let's try and get 5 and 6 runs in over. That's why 73 of 11 spinning overs was scored. So basically, what happens here is that these 2 have decided that the target has to be brought down, and it is their assessment, mercy of the pitch. Had they decided, let's not worry about wickets and let's try and get more, they would have perhaps scored a little more, but they thought this is enough. But having said that, there were 3 shots from AB de Villiers, Manish, that, again, reminds you of the genius of the man on a slow turning pitch against a spinner to hit that ball in the covers of, on the ground. There was a couple of back foot punches and a drive on a slow pitch to get that gap in the covers. Very few batsmen can do it, and AB did it today again.
Man from another planet. But it was Aaron Finch who tried to send the ball to another planet. At the start of his innings, we saw him trying to walk down the track to the seamers. Did it tell you that maybe he's been told by the captain and the coach to say, listen, you're going to play all future games, you have the license, go out there, go for it? Is that the sense you got seeing him bat in that short innings?
Or maybe it was because of the pitch that these guys assessed. It must be a visibly slow pitch that's going to help slow bowlers. That is why you saw Dhoni also making the changes that he did. He dropped 2 seam bowlers from the last game. RCB dropped Udana. So they realized that this pitch seems to be tailor-made for the slow bowlers, and the best chance to get some easy runs is while the ball is hard and new. So I thought that may have been the case with Aaron Finch when he went after the bowling, because that was not his first ball attempt to hit the ball in the air when he got out.
15 of 11 is what Finch managed. You'd rather have this than have him score a run a ball 25, isn't it?
No, you want more runs from Finch purely because he's got a 40 as the highest score. Uh, well, this is last 4 innings strike rate you see a Finch, and before that as well. So clearly we are seeing a below par Finch. Now here's where it gets interesting. Now we are seeing the the other face of UAE. It's clearly visible now. The first phase where we saw the face of UAE pitches where the ball was coming out of the bat. Now that was a phase that Aaron Finch should have really enjoyed, because things are going to get tougher for foreign players. You're seeing already with Bairstow that happening, because the pitches are slowing down. The first guys to struggle are the foreign batsmen.
Right, Monu Kumar, first look of him, he bowled between 125, 132, 133 kph. Firstly, what's your assessment of his first outing for the IPL? He's had to wait for a long, long time, and Dhoni bowled 1 over in the power play.
First things first, I like his name. It's a very nice name. It's a breath of fresh air. Monu. That's it. So very short and sweet name. But I think picked for the conditions, because the pitch was perfect for somebody like him. He's not a swing bowler who's going to be quick in the air. So you saw him using the pitch a lot. And one of the mottos that I have, to judge anyone is that did they do the best they could with what they had? And I thought Monu Kumar did pretty well there.
Right. Also, just as Kohli came into bat, Dhoni brought Santner in to bowl in the 5th over of the power play. Was that CSK throwing the gauntlet to the champion, saying, hit him if you can?
No, I think the idea was, as long as the two right-handers are together, let's try and get all our, left-arm spinners away. Imran Tahir as well bowled. Jadeja bowled 3 overs, which is a lot by the standards that he's bowled this season. So the motto was simple for Dhoni: as long as these two right-handers are together, let me get these, quiet overs from my spinners.
It was a smart thing to do, to bowl all of Santner's overs before the 11th over, wasn't it?
Yeah, because he knew what was coming later. And, you keep Rashid Khan for later because he's not easy to get away. You keep Sunil Narayan for later because then you get wickets while the batsmen are going for runs. Now, Santner is not that kind. He is a fantastic cricketer, I'm telling you. It's unfortunate that there is a restriction of, 4 foreign players. Otherwise, this guy can be so useful in the IPL. And because CSK have a plethora of spinners, he doesn't get as many opportunities for any other franchise. And we saw in the Caribbean Premier League as well, he's a guy who will bowl the tough overs. He bowled the first over inside the 6. CSK have not been able to do that with their other left-arm spinner. So, Santner, I think, is a wonderful cricketer, but not somebody that Dhoni would, trust to bowl in the final 6, 7, 8 overs.
Right, 146 is what RCB need to go up to 16 points in this game. Now, Virat has got 6 bowling options: Saini, Siraj, Morris, and there are 3 spinners in Chahal, Sundar, and Moin. Given how the pitch is behaved, do you see spinners play a greater role in the first 10 overs?
Depending who's bowling, I think Washington Sundar will be used mostly against the right-hander. So if there's a right-hand, left-hand combination, then things become a little tough for Virat, as opposed to how it was for Dhoni, who had to tackle only 2 right-handers. The pitch is definitely extremely slow. In fact, the slowest that we've seen batting first in this tournament so far. So Morris will be able to adjust. He'll hit the pitch a little more. We'll have to see Siraj, how he bowled, because the last time when he bowled, he got the ball to move. He got some wickets. Not tailor-made pitch for somebody like Saini, but I think the 3 spinners will be fine. Moin Ali may not bowl his full 4 overs, but they have the ammunition to exploit a pitch like this. But as I said, the big, the key factor in this is that RCB had 2 right-handers, which they almost didn't challenge the CSK spinners. Whether that eventually becomes a difference, we'll have to wait and see.
The CSK right-handers will have to deal with Yuzvendra Chahal, that chess player who would have seen this innings very closely. Isn't he the kind of spinner who has the ability to sense and adapt to these conditions? He should enjoy bowling on this track.
Yes, but he is also a good wicket bowler, and that is where you've got to really admire him, and that is why he's been a permanent fixture in India's white ball cricket wherever India have played. It's not a case of drop chehel if the ball is not turning. So this is a guy who will also deliver on good pitches. He made a name for himself as a T20 bowler, bowling 50% of his overs at the Chinnaswamy Stadium, which is a nightmare for bowlers. So he is a terrific bowler. So Washington Sundar also a good wicket bowler, but these are guys who will find a way to also adjust to this. But this pitch was tailor made for somebody like a Jadeja, and that is why you saw Dhoni use him a lot more. If you saw Jadeja last season when they played most of the games in Chennai, he bowled his 4 overs more often than not.
Is the cue for RCB bowlers to slow it down and completely negate any possibility of Chennai forcing the pace on this track?
Will again depend on the batsman. I think they'll do that again, the likes of, say, Rituraj Gaikwad, if he's still there, and Jagdishan, because these guys are slightly short of confidence. And a young player, in cricket, it takes a little while for you to become a powerful, hard-hitting batsman. It takes a little while from the under-19 level to get to, the levels that you see with regards to power of batting. So maybe for those two, if they are there, in the spin of the bowling, there'll be some kind of tantalizing spin bowled by these two.
Right. What's the approach you're expecting? It's one of those in-between kind of totals. It's not a 180, 190 where you go big from the word go. It's not even a 120. 146 is what they need to win. What's the approach they should look at, given that they're very low on confidence and RCB do have a variety of bowling options?
Actually, this game has become very interesting because RCB haven't taken the game completely away from CSK at halftime. So it is a target where you can expect CSK or hope, at least for CSK, to get there. I know the pitch is sluggish, but had they gone to 170, 175, it may have seemed out of reach. But this is a target where who knows, if Ambati Raidu or Faf du Plessis, these are two excellent players for a pitch like this. If they get going, they might just get that target, because this target is not a massive one where the batsman will be forced to take a lot of risks just to sort of be at pace with the required run rate.
It might help to look at the scorecard from last night's game. 126 was defended on the same pitch.
Yeah, there have been a couple of innings. There was another 116 that was scored. There was an 80. Maybe it was just IPL fatigue that is getting to some players, but it wasn't so much a reflection of the pitch. The pitches are slowing down, so we are seeing a little passage where the players are getting sort of adjusted to the slowness of the pitches, and there have been extremely low scores. But as you get to the end of the second half, you'll see the scores improving, because these players, they're fantastic players in the IPL. They would have made the adjustment.
Right, Chennai Super Kings looking for 146 runs to notch up their fourth win. Can they do it? It's not been a bad outing with the ball for them. They managed to put the shackles on the likes of AB de Villiers and Virat Kohli. Now it's time for the batsmen to do the job. We shall do our job as well. We'll join you once again on Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricket 4 T20 Timeout powered by Dell. Sanjay Manjrekar will be in company, and we will look back at this game as well as look ahead to that big one, Mumbai versus Rajasthan, which is the second game of tonight. So do join us at the end of this game. Thanks for watching.
Okay. Thank you.